ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो 2 चैप्टर 2 द लॉर्ड इन द हार्ट टेक्स्ट 1 श्री शुक उवाच एवं पुरधान्यात्मयोनि नृष्टां स्मृतिं पर्यवरुद्ध तुष्टात् तथा ससर्जेद मुमुग्दृष्टि यथा पेयात् प्राग्व्यवसाय बुद्धिः।
Shri Sukadev Goswami said, formerly, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus, he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before.
Text 2 शाब्दस्य हि ब्राह्मणेश पंथ यनामिभिर्धर्ययति धीर पार्थे परिभ्रमस्तत्र न विन्दर्थान् मायामय वासनयस्यानः।
The way of presentation of the Vedic sound is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditioned soul hover in dreams of such heavenly illusionary pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. Mataji, is Divya Gorangi Mataji has joined?
Jyoti Mataji is going to give her a call.
I did, Mataji, but no answer.
No answer. So could Girish Prabhu please carry on reading? Thank you.
Text 3 अतः कविर्नाम सूयावदथा स्यात् प्रमतो व्यवसाय बुद्धि सिद्धेन यथार्थेन यते तत् परिश्रमं तत्र समीक्षमाणः।
For this reason, the enlightened person should endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life, while in the world of names. He should be intelligently fixed and never endeavor for unwanted things, being competent to perceive practically that all such endeavors are merely hard labor for nothing.
Text 4 सत्यां शितो किं कशिपो प्रयासे ब्रहो स्वसिद्धयो परब्रह्मणे किं सत्यांजलो किं पुरुधान पात्र्या दिग्वलकोलादो सति किं दुकूले।
When there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of pillow? When one can use the palms of his hand, what is the necessity of varieties of utensils? When there is ample covering or the skins of trees, what is the necessity of clothing?
Text 5 चिराणि किं पथि न सन्ति दिशन्ति भिक्षां नेवाङ्घ्रिपापभृतसरितपयुष्यन् रुदा गुहा किं जितोवती नुपस्नान् कस्मात् भजन्ति कवयो धनुर्दुर्मदान्धान्।
Are there no torn clothes lying on the common road? Do the trees, which exist for maintaining others, no longer give alms in charity? Do the rivers, being dried up, no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or, above all, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fully surrendered souls? Why then do the learned sages go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard earned wealth?
Text 6 एवं स्वचित्ते स्वत एव सिद्ध आत्मा प्रियार्थो भगवान् अनन्तः तम निर्वतो निर्तार्थो भजेत संसार हेतु परमश्च यत्र।
Thus, being fixed, one must render service unto the super soul situated in one's own heart by his omnipotence. Because he is Almighty Personality of Godhead, eternal and unlimited. He is the ultimate goal of life, and by worshipping him, one can end the cause of the conditioned state of existence.
Text 7. Kastam tvanadritya pranuchinta mrute pashun satim nam kuryat pasya janam patit vetranayam swakarma jan paritapunjushanam.
Who else but the gross materialists will neglect such transcendental thought and take to the non permanent names only, seeing the mass of people fallen in the river of suffering as the consequence of occurring the result of their own work?
Text 8. केचि स्वेदाहन्त्रहृदयावकाशे प्रादेशमात्रं पुरुषं वसन्तं चतुर्भुजं खञ्जरथाग्रशङ्ख गदाधरं धारणया स्मरन्ति.
Others conceive of the personality of Godhead residing within the body in the region of the heart and measuring only 8 inches, with 4 hands carrying a lotus, a wheel, or a chariot, a conch shell, and a club, respectively.
Text 9. प्रसन्नवक्त्रां नलिनायते क्षणं कदं किञ्जलकपिशृङ्गवाससं लसन्महारत्नहिरण्यमयाग्रं सफोन्महारतनकिरीटकुण्डलम्.
His mouth expresses his happiness, his eyes spread like the petals of a lotus, and his garments, yellowish like the saffron of a kadamba flowers, are bedecked with the valuable jewels. His ornaments are all made of gold, set with jewels, and he wears a glowing headdress and earrings.
Text 10. मुनिदृहत्पङ्कजकर्णिकाल्ये योगेश्वरास्थापिता पादपल्लवम् शीलक्ष्णं कोसतु भरन्तकन्धर मम लानक्षमन्माल्याचितम्.
His lotus feet are placed over the whorls of the lotus like heart of a great mystic. On his chest is the Kasturba jewel, engraved with a beautiful calf, and their other jewels are on his shoulders. His, com- his complete torso is garlanded with fresh flowers.
Text 11. विभूषितं मेखलयाङ्गुलीयैर्महाधनेर्नूर्पर्कङ्काढिदिभिः सनिघ्नग्धामलकुञ्जचित्निलोकन्तले विरोचमानान् हस्तस्पेशलम्.
He is well decorated with an ornamental wreath about his waist and rings studded with valuable jewels on his fingers. His leglets, his bangles, his oiled hair, curling with the bluish tint, and his beautiful smiling face are all very pleasing.
Text 12. अदीनलीला हसिते क्षलोलसद् भ्रूभंग संसूचित भूरेनुग्रहम् ईक्षेत चिन्तामयमनीमेश्वरम् यावन्मनोधान यावतिष्ठते.
The Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face are all indications of his extensive benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on this transcendental form of the Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation.
Text 13. एकैकशोऽङ्गानिधियानुभाव्येत् पादादियासदिसितं गदाभृतः जितं जितं स्थानमपोहय धारयेत् परं परं शोधयति धीर्यथा यथा.
The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to his smiling face. The meditation should be concentrated upon the lotus feet, then the calves, then the thighs, and in this way higher and higher. The more the mind becomes fixed upon the different parts of the limbs one after another, the more the intelligence becomes purified.
Text 14. यावन् जायेत् परावरे समिन् विश्वरे विश्वरे दृष्टरि भक्ति योगा तावस्तव्य पुरुषस्य रूपं क्रियावसाने प्रियता समरेत्.
Unless The gross materialist develops a sense of loving service unto the Supreme Lord, the seer of both the transcendental and material worlds. He should remember or meditate upon the universal form of the Lord at the end of his prescribed duties.
Text 15. Sthiram sukham cha sthito yati yada jiharu suri mangalokam kale chadjeshe chamano nasajet prana nichenman sajitasu.
O king, whenever the yogi desires to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about the proper time or place, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed and regulating the life air, should control the senses by the mind.
Text 16. Mana swabudhayaye malyani me kshetra gyaetam ninet tatmatmani atman matanyavarodya dhiro labdho pashantir virmayet krityat.
Thereafter, the yogi should merge his mind by his unalloyed intelligence into the living entity and then merge the living entity into the super self. And by doing this, the fully satisfied living entity becomes situated in the supreme stage of satisfaction, so that he ceases from all other activities.
Text 17. नायत्र कालो निमिषां परप्रभु कुतो नु देव जगतां य ईश्वरे नायत्र सत्वं न रजस्तमश्च न वे विकारो न महान् प्रधानम्.
In that transcendental state of Labdo Shanti, there is no supremacy of devastating time, which controls even the celestial demigods who are empowered to rule over mundane creatures. And what to speak of the demigods themselves? Nor is there the mode of material goodness, nor passion, nor ignorance, nor even the false ego, nor the material causal ocean, nor the material nature.
Text 18. Param padam veshvamaman tad yaneti neti yat dusi srikshvaha visrajya doratmaya manya suhrdya hrido puguhyar padam pade pade.
The transcendentalists desire to avoid everything godless, for they know that supreme situation in which everything is related with the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, a pure devotee who is in absolute harmony with the Lord does not create perplexities but worships the lotus feet of the Lord at every moment, taking them into his heart.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, and please forgive for any mistakes we have made. Thank Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shabani Mataji and Girish Prabhuji, for the very nice recitations. I've just received a message that Vrindavan Chandra Prabhuji has asked me to recite the Mangala Charan prayer. So let's all, you can recite with me behind muted mics. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sriyutapadakamalaam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Sri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Vrindavan Chandra Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Sriji Kishori Mataji. Thank you for saying the prayers. I just had a few technical issues joining, so forgive me for being late. Dear devotees, welcome to this very first chat session for 2024. I feel it's my honor and privilege to be able to facilitate this first session. During New Year's, everyone tries to get a better and more improved me. We set so many resolutions, personal goals, health goals, relationship goals, so many things. And for the devotees of the Lord, they also, big goal is the spiritual goals. In the process of Krishna consciousness, hearing and chanting is the foundational process. It is the most important process. So we also try to consider how during this year we shall improve our hearing and chanting. Not only the quantity, but the quality also. Actually, quality matters more than quantity. How we shall improve our service, how we shall improve our hearing and chanting. So let's hope that we can continue hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the most important aspects of hearing and chanting. We're doing that together. And let's all pray. Let's all commit this year to intensify our hearing and chanting. Not only the quantity, but the quality also. So it's my privilege to be able to start off in your association, hearing and chanting for 2024. So Sriji Kishori Mataji has already recited the Mangala Charanam prayers. So we'll jump straight into today's session. Today we continue reading the second chapter of the second canto, and the chapter is entitled The Lord in the Heart. Today we'll be discussing texts number 4 and 5. Before I start, I'd just like to offer my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharini, Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Pastyachadesha Tarini, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. So the link between the last chapter and this chapter was, previous chapter was the description of the meditation on the Virat Rupa. And the question that's paraphrased in terms of the link, is there someone who achieves success by meditating on the Virat Rupa? And previously, we hear of how Lord Brahma recreated the universe by meditating on the Virat Rupa. So in answer to the question, what should a dying person do? Which was the prime question raised by Maharaj Parikshit. What should a dying person do? So Shukdev Goswami is thinking that some people may recommend that a dying person should, some sages may recommend karma or karma yoga. Now Shukadev Goswami has given his opinion on this. Actually not karma yoga, karma. Basically a dying person should direct his intelligence towards sense gratification. But in verse number 3, Shukdev Goswami says that an intelligent person should endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life, working only to keep one's body and mind together. That is what Shukdev Goswami is recommending. Let me just make sure everyone's muted. Yeah, let me just go to text number 3. So in response to what a dying person should do, Shukdev Goswami says, for this reason, the enlightened person should endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life. While in the world of names, he should be intelligently fixed and never endeavor for unwanted things, being competent to perceive practically that all such endeavors are merely hard labor for nothing. So in these verses, from text 4 and 5, which we're discussing today, Shukdev Goswami is going to explain what does it mean to endeavor only for the minimum necessities. What does it mean to endeavor only for the minimum necessities? So this is what we'll discuss today. Hope I get the right meter here. Satyam Shito Kim Kapisho Prayase Baho Swasiddhe Upabarhanai Kim Satyanjala Kim Purudhana Patrai Digval Kalado Sati Kim Dukalai. So Shukdev Goswami states, when there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of a pillow? When one can use the palms of his hands, what is the necessity of varieties of utensils? When there is ample covering or the skins of trees, what is the necessity of clothing? The necessities of life for the protection and comfort of the body must not be unnecessarily increased. Human energy is spoiled in a vain search after such then there is no necessity of searching after a pillow. If we make a study of the general life of the animals, we can see that they have no intelligence for building big houses, furniture, and other household paraphernalia. And yet, they maintain a healthy life by lying down on the open land. They do not know how to cook or prepare foodstuffs, yet they still live healthy lives more easily than the human being. This does not mean that human civilization should revert to animal life, or that the human being should live naked in the jungles without any culture, education, and sense of morality. An intelligent human cannot live the life of an animal. Rather, man should try to utilize his intelligence in arts and science, poetry and philosophy. In such a way, he can further the progressive march of human civilization. But here, the idea given by Srila Shukdev Goswami is that the reserve energy of human life, which is far superior to that of animals, should simply be utilized for self-realization. Advancement of human civilization must be towards the goal of establishing our lost relationship with God, which is not possible in any form of life other than human. One must realize the nullity of the material phenomenon, considering it a passing phantasmagoria, and one must endeavor to make a solution to the mysteries of life. Self-complacence with a polished type of animal civilization geared to sense gratification is delusion, and such a civilization is not worthy of the name. In pursuit of such false activities, a human being is in the clutches of Maya or illusion. Great sages and saints in the days of yore were not living in palatial buildings, furnished with good furniture and so-called amenities of life. They used to live in huts and groves and sit on the flat ground, and yet they have left immense treasures of high knowledge without perfection. Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatan Goswami were high-ranking ministers of state, but they were able to leave behind immense writings on transcendental knowledge while residing only for one night under one tree. They did not even live even 2 nights under the same tree. And what to speak of well-furnished rooms with modern amenities. And still, they were able to give us most important literatures of self-realization. So-called comforts of life are not actually helpful for progressive civilization. Rather, they are detrimental to such progressive life. In the system of Sanatana Dharma, or 4 divisions of social life and 4 orders of progressive realization, there are ample opportunities and sufficient directions for happy termination of the progressive life, and the sincere followers are advised therein to accept a voluntary life of renunciation in order to achieve the desired goal of life. If one is not accustomed to abiding by the life of renunciation and self-abnegation from the beginning, one should try to get into the habit at the later stage of life, as recommended by Srila Shukdev Goswami, and that will help one to achieve the desired success. So this is a really a sobering verse. The gist of it, Shukdev Goswami is emphasizing that human life, with a very short span of life, especially like us in Kali Yuga, should be used. Time, is our most valuable commodity. Time should be used for the most important purpose. And the most important purpose is spiritual realization or service to Krishna. And that requires a simple life. It means minimizing the needs of the body. Because the more we increase the needs of the body, the more our attention and time is misdirected. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that we project our consciousness outwardly, externally. That means project our consciousness towards satisfying the senses. But we should project our consciousness internally, inwardly. So there's two opposites pulling here. And it becomes a necessity to simplify our life. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives the examples of the Goswamis. The Goswamis, they dedicated their time and energy towards writing transcendental literature, towards spreading Krishna consciousness, towards practicing Krishna consciousness. And they kept their personal needs minimal. And Prabhupada says they used to sleep under a different tree every night. And here Shukdev Goswami and Prabhupada also gives the examples of the animals. The animals, they sleep on the flat earth. They have no beds, they have no cots. And you see the animals, they use their own body as a pillow. And when they eat with their claws or their limbs. They don't go and get sophisticated utensils. And they cover their own skin. So the yogis, the transcendentalists, they minimize, they simplify, they minimize the body necessities. But Prabhupada, you see in the purport, he's being very, very merciful. In Kali Yuga, we can't tolerate much of austerities. It's very difficult for the living entities, the human beings in Kali Yuga, to tolerate austerities. So Prabhupada says, yeah, it's not necessary for us to live that simply. And Prabhupada says, even if you're not able to live that simply, you should still focus your energy towards God realization. But Prabhupada says, at least, Prabhupada talks it, at least towards the latter part of our lives. We should try to get into the habit. So at the later stage of life, it will help us achieve the desired success. So this is required. This is required, and especially among the devotees of the Lord. We'll talk a bit more about this in the next verse. But the gist of it is we should live a simple life, and we should focus our time and energy towards the ultimate goal. This is the gist of this verse. So the next verse, in a similar light, but with a slightly different slant, Srila Shukdev Goswami speaks, Chirani kim patina santi dishanti bhiksham naivan kripaha parabritash saritapi ashushyan rudha guha kim ajito vati no pasanan kasmad bhajanti kavayodana durma dandhatan. Are there no torn clothes lying on the common road? Do the trees which exist for maintaining others no longer give alms in charity? Do the rivers being dried up no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or above all, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fully surrendered souls? Why then do the learned sages go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? It's a long purport. Maybe someone would like to read until self-realization.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. The renounced order of life is never meant for begging or living at the cost of others as a parasite. According to the dictionary, a parasite is a sycophant who lives at the cost of society without making any contribution to that society. The renounced order is meant for contributing something substantial to society and not depending on the earning of the householders. On the contrary, acceptance of alms from the householders by the bona fide mendicant is an opportunity afforded by the saint for the tangible benefit of the donor. In the Sanatan Dharma institution, alms giving to the mendicant is part of householder's duty, and it is advised in the scriptures that the householder should treat the mendicants as their family children and should provide them with food, clothing, etc., without being asked. Pseudo-mendicants, therefore, should not take advantage of the charitable disposition of the faithful householders. The first duty of a person in the renounced order of life is to contribute some literally work for the benefit of the human being in order to give him realized direction towards self-realization. Amongst the other duties in the renounced order of life of Srila Sanatan, Srila Grupa, and the other Goswamis of Vrindavan, the foremost duty discharged by them was to hold learned discourses among themselves at Sheva Kunja, Vrindavana, the spot where Sri Radha Damodar temple was established by Srila Jiva Goswami and where the actual Samadhi tombs of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Jiva Goswami are laid.
Thank you,
For the
Mataji.
Thank you,
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anyone else like to read for the benefit of all human society? And
Can I read, Prabhuji?
yes, please.
Okay. For the benefit.
Shall I read, Prabhu?
I think Krishangi Mataji will read after that when I stop. Then you can read after that.
Thank you. For the benefit of all in human society, they left behind them immense literature of transcendental importance. Similarly, all the acharyas who voluntarily accepted the renounced order of life aimed at benefiting, aimed at benefiting human society and not at living a comfortable or irresponsible life at the cost of others. However, those who cannot give any contribution should not go to the householders for food. For such mendicants, asking bread for the house from the householder are an insult to the highest order. Sukhdev Goswami gave this warning especially for those mendicants who adopt this life or profession to solve the economic problems. Such mendicants are in abundance in the age of Kali. When a man becomes a mendicant willfully or by circumstances, he must be of firm faith and conviction that the Supreme Lord is the maintainer of all living beings everywhere in the universe. Why then would he neglect the maintenance of a surrendered soul who is 10% engaged in the service of the Lord? A common master looks to the necessities of his servants. So how much more would the all-powerful, all-opulent Supreme Lord look after the necessities for life for a fully surrendered soul? The general rule is that a mendicant devotee will accept a simple small loincloth without asking anyone to give in charity. He simply salvages it from the rejected torn cloth thrown in the street. When he is hungry, he may go to a magnanimous tree which drops fruits. And when he is thirsty, he may drink water from the flowing river. He does not require to live in a comfortable house, but should find a cave in the hills and not be afraid of jungle animals, keeping faith in God who lives in everyone's heart. The
Thank
Lord
you,
may... Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishangi Mataji, Krishna Bani Mataji, you can read where Mataji stop. Who lives in everyone's heart. You found the place?
Krishna Vani.
Okay. So someone else would like to read? The Lord may dictate to tigers and other
Can I try,
jungle.
Vrindavan Chandra, please?
Yes, yes, please go, Palika Mataji.
Thank you very much. The Lord may dictate the tigers and other jungle animals not to disturb his devotee. Haridas Thakur, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, used to live in such a cave, and by chance a great venomous snake was a cap, carpet
Gopal.
carpenter of the cave. Some admire of Thakur Haridas, who had to visit the Thakura every day, feared the snake and suggested that the Thakura live in a place. Because his devotees were afraid of the snake and they were regularly visiting the cave, Thakura Haridas agreed to the proposal on their account. But as soon as this was settled, the snake actually crawled out of this hole in the cave and left the cave for good before everyone present. By the dictation of the Lord, who lived also with the heart of the snake gave preference to Haridas and decided to leave the place and not disturb him. So this is the tangible example of how the Lord gives protection to the bona fide devotee like Thakura Haridas. According to the regulations of the Sanatana Dharma institution, one is trained from the beginning to depend fully on the protection of the Lord in all circumstances. The path of renunciation is recommended for acceptance by one who is fully accomplished and fully purified in his existence. The stage is described also in Bhagavad Gita as Daivi Sampad. A human being is required to accumulate Daivi Sampad or spiritual asset. Otherwise, the next alternative, Asuri Sampad or material assets, will overcome him and disproportionately, and thus one will be forced into the entanglement of different miseries of the material world. A sannyasi should always live alone without a company, and he must be fearless. He should never be afraid of living alone, although he is never alone. The Lord is residing in everyone's heart, and unless one is purified by the prescribed process, one will feel that he is alone. But a man in renounced order of life must be purified by the process. Thus he will feel the presence of the Lord everywhere, and he will have nothing to fear as such being without any company. Everyone can become fearless and honest person if his very existence is purified by the discharging the prescribed duty for each and every order of life. One can become fixed in his prescribed duty by faithful oral reception of Vedic instruction and assimilation of the essence of Vedic knowledge by devotional service to the Lord. Hare Krishna. Thank you for allowing me to read.
Thank you. Are there no town clothes on the roads? Do the trees don't give charity? Are the rivers dried up? Are the mountains caves closed? Does the Lord not protect the surrendered? Why then flatter the proud, rich men? So, we may have the tendency when we read this verse that this verse applies mainly to those in the renounced order of life, the sannyasis and the mendicants. And one should, not give much attention. But Srila Prabhupada is making an important point. In Krishna consciousness, we know that The purpose of life is to be detached from the material and to be attached to Krishna. That is the purpose. That applies to any devotee in any ashram, be one male or female. We should live a life ultimately depending on Krishna for everything. In the Sharanagati verse, the 6 limbs of surrender are described. Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam, rakshastiti vishvaso. Anyway, the third and the fourth limbs is very important. To see Krishna as one's only maintainer and to see Krishna as one's only protector. These limbs are being described in this verse. Seeing Krishna as one's only maintainer and seeing Krishna as one's only protector. So that principle, in as much as being described for a sannyasi, is equally dependent or equally applicable for a householder. Most of us are in the household ashram. We should feel that ultimately our maintenance is from Krishna. Yes, we may work, we may get some income, but ultimately all of this is coming through the arrangement of Krishna. And in terms of protection, Prabhupada gives focus in the purport to being fearless. A devotee should always be fearless, being confident that Krishna will protect. And Prabhupada gives the very nice point here, and he uses the point of the life of Srila Haridas Thakur. Srila Haridas Thakur, he was living in a cave, and in a cave was a big snake. Haridas Thakur was not at all concerned or fearful of the snake. He always knew that Krishna would protect him, and if Krishna desired for the snake to bite him, so be it. But people who were coming to visit Haridas Thakur, they were very afraid of the snake and they were deterred from taking his association. So Haridas Thakur thought to himself that this may be not so good. He'll leave the cave, not because of his own fear, and he will take residence somewhere else. But Prabhupada makes the point that Krishna is within the heart of every living entity. And he directed the snake to leave the cave before Haridas Thakur. And this important point Prabhupada is making here, that the devotees or those that are surrendered to the Lord, those who have confidence in the protection of the Lord, they understand that Krishna is within the heart of every living entity. If a yogi or a sage is meant to wander around through forests and they worry, oh, how many cobras are there? Will I be bitten by the cobra? There are tigers in the forest. When will I be attacked by a tiger? If they were in that consciousness, they would always be fearful. And when one is in a fearful condition of life, there is no opportunity to think about Krishna. So those that are surrendered to Krishna, they are fearless. Once someone asked Srila Prabhupada the question, what do you feel? What do you feel when you chant Hare Krishna? Prabhupada said, I feel no fear. I feel no fear when I chant Hare Krishna. And this should be applicable, you know, we don't go to the forests, but we encounter different types of challenges in our life. Physical challenges, mental challenges, relationship challenges, financial challenges. When we go to preach, we knock on doors, when we stand on the street to approach people. If we are living in a consciousness of fear, firstly, it'll be very difficult for us to think about Krishna. And secondly, it's difficult to surrender to Krishna. So therefore, we have to develop this consciousness of being fearless. Let what physical ailment is going to come of me, overcome me. Let it come. It's natural course of his life. Obviously, we will take our precautions for our health. You know, whatever by its own cause financial calamities come, we accept it. We haven't planned for it. We haven't wanted it. But we have confidence that Krishna will protect us. Yet he said that, you know, Krishna is taking care of so many people, so many living entities. Why will he not take care of his own devotees? The souls that are surrendered to him. And then Prabhupada says, they talk about the dress of a loincloth. And the point that Prabhupada also makes in this purport, which is very important, is that one in a mendicant, or one who is surrendered to Krishna, we should never think that we are dependent on some other person. I'm dependent on my boss. If I don't submit to him completely, if I don't do exactly what he says, then I'll be bereft. Or I am dependent on some other human being. And especially Prabhupada said one should not flatter the materialistic men. I was talking to Doyle Balare Prabhu this morning during breakfast at the temple. And we were discussing about how a sadhu or a spiritual person never flatters the rich person, thinking that if they don't flatter, then that person will not be very well disposed towards them, and then they'll be deprived in some way or the other. And then he told me the example of his god brother, Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, is a guru. He had a very rich disciple in Bali. She owned a big bank and owned lots of businesses. And one day she invited a spiritual master to her house. And he was talking to her and he says, don't think yourself secure by all of these assets you have. They are not a spiritual qualification. If anything, they are a disqualification for your spiritual life, because you're less inclined to depend on Krishna and more inclined to depend on your own assets. Obviously, you can change your consciousness, but it may be more difficult. So Shukdev Goswami is giving us very relevant instructions here. We should not only see it in the context of renunciants, mendicants, and sannyasis, but we should try to apply the principle of these instructions to our own life, even as householders. So it's 22 now. I'll stop here. But very beautiful, very, very beautiful verses. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments, or reflections for anyone? Sorry, Krishnavani Mataji, when we asked you to read, I'm not sure, we either missed you or whatever. So forgive us for
Yeah, because it moved and I was on my phone, so I missed,
Oh.
the.
Okay, that's all right. Next time.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Oh, sorry, someone may have been wanting to speak. I muted you all, so please unmute yourself and you can speak.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for a really nice class, really simple and easy to understand. I was just trying to, all this try to be, Srila Prabhupada also used to say simple living and high thinking. And on this purport, it's all about, more about how sannyasis live, because it's not practical for us to sleep on the floor, etc. So how can we apply this message in our life, like in a practical way, where we do go to work, we do use beds and things, but how do we understand this and apply this message in how to make our life simple and follow this instruction?
The way I see it, take for example, like sleeping. There's newer and newer mattresses that come up, more sophisticated mattresses, more sophisticated pillows, more expensive pillows, bigger beds, longer beds, beds with TVs in it. We can get swept away with all the modern amenities that are available. Or we can have an attitude, if I have a simple bed, it's long enough for my legs, it's comfortable enough for me to sleep. Because once we lie down and we close our eyes, it doesn't really matter. We are not really having any better sleep than the mendicant who's lying on the floor and having the pillows. So the way we see it is even within our in our own lives, like no torn clothes on the road. We are not expected to use torn clothes. But the thing is, we dress nicely, but we do not go for the biggest, latest designer brands, the most fancy clothes. Something that is adequate, that's good enough. So I think it is, the way I see this verse in terms of us is, as Prabhupada would say, don't increase the fever. Try to keep everything simple. Simple. If we got a phone, it does the needful. It can make a phone call. It can allow us to surf the internet. It can allow us to listen to lectures. We don't need 5 cameras. We don't need a super clear screen and so on, and get carried away. It's just keeping everything,
Yeah.
good enough, but not over the limit.
All right. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Any realizations or reflections?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, my Dhanvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, maybe a bit of a reflection, and on a lighter note, just something that made me chuckle when you were explaining it so nicely, Prabhuji. Is I've got teenage kids, and I think you've met them, Prabhuji, both of them. I've got teenage daughter, she's 13, Prabhuji, and just going back to the sense enjoyment thing, sometimes she comes up with things that just makes me laugh as a mother. She's in this phase, Prabhuji, where she thinks she doesn't have enough clothes, so every weekend she's like, right, mom, these new joggers have come out, mom, these new shoes have come out, and it comes to a point, Prabhuji, where she sometimes uses these words where I have to explain to her. She would go to me, oh mom, if you don't buy me this, I don't think I'll be able to live without it. And yes, Prabhuji, exactly. It makes me laugh as well that Krishna is saying to us that, we should be happy with what we've got. And these teenage people makes me chuckle, Prabhuji. I pray to Krishna and Radharani that one day the change will happen. And the way I deal with it is sometimes I say, okay, let's wait till the next month's salary, because is this a need? Is this a want? Can you? And she would say, oh, I can't live without it, Mom. So Prabhuji just makes me chuckle that the more I am understanding Bhagavad Gita and reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and the more I see that happening with my own children, it just makes me chuckle that can she wait a month? Sometimes within that month, she will forget that actually did she need it or she didn't need it. And that's my way of seeing if she can, in her words, she can't survive without it. But we know that, we can survive without all of this. But it just makes me chuckle that how these teenagers don't think like that, Prabhuji, on a lighter note. Sorry, thought like
Nice.
sharing.
It's very nice that you can chuckle. That's what we should do as devotees. We shouldn't judge others. Everyone's on a different path and a different stage, and we don't use these verses we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam to judge others. We use it only to judge ourselves, our consciousness. So it's nice you chuckle and see where the teenagers are at the moment. And yeah, they'll come to the realization. I've got a daughter who's 23 and a son that's 19, and I see similar trends. Even ourselves, sometimes we have to check ourselves, isn't it? We can get carried away.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for that reflection. Okay, dear devotees, nice to start to 2024 for these beautiful verses from Shukdev Goswami. I really like these verses. They really bring one down back to earth and sober ourselves. And there's one person issued a challenge. See if you can go 6 months without buying anything new unless it's completely necessary, just to test how we can live. So we can use this 2024. Maybe we can start off with this verse just to see how we can simplify our own lives and yeah, go forward with this. Thank you very much. All glories.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Is it okay?
Did you want to say something, Mataji? Sorry.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna,
go on,
for
go
the
on.
late question. I wish you a very happy new year. Please accept my humble obeisances first of all, and I wish you all a very happy new year. But I had a small doubt yesterday in the session we were talking. Basically, is it okay if I can just clarify that doubt?
Yeah, sure.
It's regarding the celestial, obviously the planets and the situation of Brahma, because in the last verse it was said that Brahma also obviously was created with the mode of passion from the material energy, and so therefore the forgetfulness also applies to Brahma, and all these planets up till from the Patala, from the lowest planet till the Brahmaloka, all of them who do not elevate themselves to Krishna consciousness, and then all of them are influenced by this old age, birth and death and disease, so they will fall down. But then obviously there was a discussion where that Brahma doesn't fall down because he is part of, he's created by Vishnu. And so can you please just clarify for us, does Brahma fall down or not? Because in the Bhagavatam, there's some chapters which we read that obviously Brahma was annihilated because he had a very bad drishti on his daughter and blah, 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 whatever. And then he himself felt ashamed, and then he was totally annihilated, and then again a new Brahma was created. In some chapter in Bhagavatam it comes, I don't remember the exact chapter, but does Brahma ever get annihilated or not? Because does he ever fall down? Please can you just clarify that for us, please, Prabhuji? There's so many doubts for to me, and also they might be for a lot of devotees, so a little bit of a misunderstanding I'm having. So it'll be really nice if you can just give us your thoughts, Prabhuji.
Right. It's explained in the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada, I think one part I can't remember. It says that Brahma is a position. sometimes that position of Lord Brahma is taken up by the most qualified Jivatma at that particular point in time. If there's not a qualified Jivatma at that particular point in time, then the Lord himself takes the position of Lord Brahma.
Okay.
So that's one point. So obviously, when the Lord is taking the position of Lord Brahma,
He doesn't fall down, of course.
hold on.
Impossible. Yes. Okay.
Then when Brahma is a Jivatma,
Mhm.
there are points and experiences and examples where Brahma comes under illusion, but that can be the arrangement of the Lord, or it can be the actual fall down of the devotee. So sometimes Krishna would use his own devotees to make a point. So we cannot be entirely sure whether that fall is a personal fall down or it's a fall down arrangement by the Lord. And then there's examples, as we've read in the Bhagavatam about Lord Brahma running after his daughter. And that's an example of him falling down. And there's different Brahmas in different universes. 4-headed Brahma, 10-headed Brahma, 100-headed Brahma. So there's so many Brahmas. But let's talk about, we are in the Brahma Madhvago Sampradaya. Lord Brahma is the head of our Sampradaya. And we generally see Lord Brahma as a pure devotee of the Lord, perfected devotee of the Lord. And if there is some discrepancy in Lord Brahma, then we don't ignore it. Like there's someone from the Madhva Sampradaya, they don't read the Brahma Vimana Leela. They just completely skip over it because they feel, it's wrong to read about the illusion of Lord Brahma. But we do not judge Lord Brahma. We do not think any lower of him.
Mhm.
We just see it as the happenings of the material world or the arrangement of the Lord. That's how we generally see it. But we Vaishnavas, especially Lord Brahma being head of the Sampradaya, we do not focus on any incident where Lord Brahma is apparently falling down or is falling down. We see he's perfected, like Haridas Thakur is said to be an incarnation of Lord Brahma. And Haridas Thakur was Namacharya.
Mhm.
Yeah, the main point I'm trying to make is, yes, Lord Brahma, we're about to see so many, but we try not to fall into the trap of judging Lord Brahma.
Yes.
I don't know
Sorry,
if
that's a
I'm
disturbance.
not sure
Sorry.
if it answers your
I
question,
thought like
Mataji.
Lord Brahma was talking, I thought. Yeah. Yes, I think that really clarifies. It's so nice, like the way how we don't judge. That is a big Vaishnava quality, I think, which really shows so much that we have taken Brahma as he's a pure devotee over there. And I like the way you explain that we do not judge people. So that's absolutely wonderful. Prabhuji.
If
Thank
we
you
have
so
to
much.
ever, even in a highest stage of spiritual realization, compare ourselves to Lord Brahma, we won't even come remotely close to Lord Brahma.
Of course, of course, of course,
He's
of course.
so
Yeah.
great. He's so great.
Of course, that is like, this is our stupidity, our ignorance to think that how dare we judge him. That is ignorance. We are just such a small, not even a small speck where we are. And because in the beginning it was Lord Brahma who created the whole universe with the help of obviously with the wishes or desires of Vishnu.
Mm.
And plus there's one more question, if I may, can I ask? This is from one of the devotee, Prabhuji. This is like, so this is starting from the question, the question that lots of people ask as to why did we Jivatmas come to this earth planet? And if we were in the celestial abode of the Lord, what made us to come here, and who put the desire into us to come down here? Is it Lord Krishna himself put the desire, who made us to come to the thing? And if so, why? So there are lots of, I mean, this question has been asked to many people, but I think the devotee is not getting the correct answer. So I was wondering whether if you could share some of your thoughts and then see how it goes, Prabhuji.
Prabhupada used to give a very simple explanation for this. And I feel satisfied with that Krishna has given us independence. And that independence is basically live to give Krishna pleasure and understand that our pleasure comes from Krishna's pleasure. Or we can think, is there any pleasure outside of Krishna? And the moment that consideration comes into our consciousness, then Krishna gives us the opportunity to really test that for ourselves. Is there any pleasure we can get while not giving pleasure to Krishna? And that's what the material world is about. It's an opportunity for us to try to see if we can be completely happy, completely satisfied, without being in the consciousness thinking about Krishna's pleasure. And some people may think, oh, it's almost unlimited, but in one sense it's just a blink of an eye. In the scheme of eternal life, someone falling into the material world sometimes is like insignificant. It's like a very fleeting, flickering experience where we come to the realization, oh no, I'm part and parcel of Krishna. My constitutional position is to give pleasure to Krishna. When I give pleasure to Krishna, I am completely satisfied, I'm happy. And when I try to experience pleasure outside of Krishna, then it just doesn't work because it's unconstitutional. For me, that whole rationale, I feel satisfied with it. I don't.
So the question is like, why does Krishna put that thought into that particular being as to why that particular being should have desire outside Krishna or have the desire to have pleasure outside Krishna? Why does Krishna does it? Or do you think he does it?
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Sorry, Mataji. Sorry, Prabhuji. So is it like, does Krishna actually put the thought into, because there's no other person who put the thought into a person being. We know
No. Krishna is not putting the thought. We have independence. For there to be love, there has to be independence. If there's no independence, it's forced. So all Krishna does is he gives us the independence. And that independence basically means we can desire to get our pleasure through giving pleasure to Krishna, or we can attempt to get our pleasure independent of giving pleasure to Krishna. It's just a consequence. It has to be there. Independence has to be there. And that choice is a consequence of that independence. That's how it is. If there's no independence, then it's all forced, and Krishna doesn't force anybody. We are known as Taksha Lakshana. That means we have the choice to either serve the spiritual or the material. We are, what is the word? In between, marginal.
Marginal.
We are marginal. We are marginal. That is the nature of Jivatma, marginal energy. Marginal energy means we can serve the superior energy or we can serve the inferior energy. That is our choice. That is simply the constitution of the of the
Jiva.
Jiva. Jiva is the taksha, marginal.
Thank you so much,
I'm
Prabhuji.
not sure when people struggle to understand that. I don't know what is. Do you understand what is the difficulty in understanding that, Mataji?
I think because I what I feel is because we are taking it all one or none, all or none phenomena type. You know, when we think that Krishna is everything, then we start dissecting, and then we think like if he's everything, then why did he do this? Why did he do that? If he has to do, why did all this happen? So this is what I'm thinking. But the devotee can also ask the question if they're willing to. When open up, I think we're getting late, maybe, or maybe next time, Prabhuji. I don't know how you feel. Maybe a different conversation, because I think
Well, those who want to leave, they can leave. I don't feel compelled to stay on. But if you want to ask Mataji, I'm free now.
yeah, it is just like I think Prabhuji, would you like to ask? Let me see if Prabhuji is there on the chat. Girish Prabhuji, would you like to ask Vrindavan Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can I share some idea?
Sure.
Sure, Mataji.
I'm a mother of 6. I've got 6 children. I give birth to them. When they're young, they obey me. But once they're grown up, they have their independence, they have their right, they have their own mentality. Even though I'm as a mother, I can control them. But Krishna, as our Supreme Father, he's very kind. He gives us all kind of independence, and he gives us our very individuality. We have the choice what we make. So Krishna doesn't control. Krishna doesn't actually says that because you're my children, you have to follow me. But Krishna gives us a choice, which means that we have the independence to choose what your condition life wanted to be, material or spiritual. So in that way, it's part of the body that thinks that I'm conditioned. I wanted to go for material sense gratification. But if you keep Krishna to the side and not going towards Krishna, thinking of materials, sense gratification, we affect our own karma. And this karma produces reaction. Example, if you plant an apple tree, it grow apple tree. It will not grow oranges. So this is the road, the path of a jiva. So whatever action we do, it produces reaction. And from this reaction, it produces karma. Krishna doesn't control us. Krishna gives us freedom. But to come to Krishna, we need to understand the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, so that we can have a better understanding. Why do we come to this world? Why we suffering? And how I can overcome all this pain and suffering and go back to Krishna. So it's very important to under the Vedas, association, reading Prabhupada's book, and taking prasadam purifies the soul, doing your chanting. In this way, slowly, you gradually will move your soul towards Krishna, and you will understand your jiva. What are we supposed to do? And in that way, you have a better understanding, and not to say, why Krishna, my parents give birth to me? Why am I wrong? Why my parents doesn't guide me? We guide when you were able to understand. But once you live, you have your own independence. You wanted to choose your own path. So that is why we fall down. I don't know if I'm right, but this is part of what I understand. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mataji.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know whether Girish Prabhu is
Yeah, I think
online.
Girish Prabhu is unmuted himself. You can ask Girish Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, whatever limited understanding we have, we understand that before this material creation, we were all in the spiritual world, right? And once we go in spiritual world, if we so desire and lucky and got that position that we go back to spiritual world where we don't have any material desires, basically. We just want to serve Krishna over there, right? So, and if my understanding is correct, before this material creation, everybody was in the spiritual world. Is that understanding correct?
That's the understanding Prabhupada gave us. There are some devotee philosophers at the moment, and there's a big debate going on about it, who disagree with that. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, they always stated that all of us one day lived in the spiritual world.
Correct. So if that understanding, if you take that understanding that we were in the spiritual world, where basically it's desireless in terms of material desires, right? We have other desires in terms of serving Krishna, devotional service, whatever we want to do in the spiritual world. So when Krishna decided to create this material world, obviously he decided to send people here, right? And then, if my understanding correct, because we don't have any material desire in spiritual world, somebody has to implant that desire so that we as a living entity come down here. Is that
No,
understanding correct?
there's a slight understanding there is in the spiritual world, all of them, all of the living entities in the spiritual world, the only desire is to serve Krishna.
Yes.
Okay. There are some devotees, they're called Nitya Siddha, eternal associates of Krishna. They're not tatastha like we are. So that desire is very fleeting. In the spiritual world, it can be. So someone asked Prabhupada the question once, if I go back to the spiritual world, is there a chance that I'll fall down again?
Mhm.
Prabhupada said, yes, but very unlikely. Because this experience you had in the material world, somehow or the other, it's that experience or remnants of that experience is in some part of the consciousness will prevent one from falling again. But
Mhm.
as long as there's love, there has to be independence. As long as there's independence, we have to have freedom of desire. And that's the nature of the tatastha, or the marginal energy of the Lord, who we are. And when we fall into the material world, for us, sometimes it's such a big thing, it's a long. But in the terms of eternal life, eternal nature, it's a blink of an eye. It is nothing. Because time is relative. Time is relative. For us, it's such a, big thing. Krishna says in the Bhagavatam, this is like a dream. This experience is almost like a dream. It is not an illusion, but it's temporary.
Mhm.
The Vedas makes the distinction between that which is real and that which is illusion. Anything that is temporary is an illusion. Anything that is permanent is a reality. So in one perspective, it's also like this material existence is like a fleeting dream.
Which is correct, Prabhuji. This is all temporary world. We here, then we'll go into another body or maybe not come back or whatever it is. Indeed. But before the question, original question was that before this creation happened, we were not had an experience of material enjoyment, right? So we were like all our mind was in spiritual thing only. So somebody might have planted that seed that you need to go and have some enjoyment and go and have free will.
No, it's not like that. It's not like that.
So why we leave the spiritual world and come here then?
It is simply, it's not like I want to enjoy material life. It is just that a thought, is there any enjoyment when I'm not with Krishna?
But where that thought will come from?
It's from your independence.
But in the spiritual world, we are not thinking about that because we are with Krishna and serving all those things.
That's true. But the opportunity is always there for the marginal energy.
So it means in spiritual world, we still have an independence to enjoy spiritually or non-spiritually, basically.
Yes.
So in terms of understanding of going back spiritual world, which is desire free of enjoyment other than the Krishna, serving Krishna and doing things for Krishna, is incorrect statement then.
Sorry, I don't understand the question. Prabhu, can you repeat?
Yeah, in whatever we have heard in the different classes and all, once we go back to spiritual world, which is the desire free, and because obviously going back to
No,
the
the spiritual world is not desire free, Prabhu. It's full
desire
of
free in
desire.
terms of Prabhuji, in terms of enjoyment other than serving Krishna.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Desire will be there, but in terms of serving Krishna and doing things for Krishna, right? So there is no other desire other than thinking about Krishna, basically. So we have independence because we are doing serving for Krishna only. There is no other thought in the spiritual world because that is not contaminated. So if that is not contaminated, where this contaminated thought comes in our mind, that we need an independence other than Krishna then.
Let me see how I can express this. I'm just thinking how I can best express this to you. Okay, say suppose Prabhupada says, when we are fully Krishna conscious, there is no difference whether we are living in the spiritual world or we're living in the material world.
Right.
Right? Because we are fully Krishna conscious, our only thoughts is to please Krishna. So in the spiritual world, our only desire is to give pleasure to Krishna. All we do is we hear and chant about Krishna, we converse about Krishna, we serve Krishna's devotees. That happens there, that happens in the material world. So Prabhupada says that in one sense, you can say there's no difference between the material world and the spiritual world, besides the consciousness. Right? So if we in the material world, our consciousness right now, if we are completely pure, we can always choose a different atmosphere, a different path in life. And in the spiritual world, we can also do that. It's just in the spiritual world, we are so engaged, the probability of that happening is very, very minuscule, very, very minuscule. But that is always there. As long as we are Jivatma, we are marginal energy. In the material world, in the spiritual world, wherever we are, we have that opportunity. I think you are thinking more in terms of how the desire can manifest in such an environment in the spiritual world.
Yeah, that's right, Prabhuji, because before this creation, there was no contaminated world, basically.
Yeah.
So our consciousness was so purified. Even right now, fine, we are in the contaminated world. Even we go back, we might take some, thoughts with us, somehow get into the spiritual with those minute thoughts, which bring us back here and minute percentage side. But before this contaminated world, our consciousness was fully purified.
Yeah, I understand your question, Prabhu. Let me take it away. Think about an analogy and a way maybe I can express it to explain it a bit better, simpler.
Yeah, okay, Prabhuji. That would be helpful.
Then we can share it at some point in time. Sailesh, Prabhu, you want to add something to this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry, you want me to say something?
You wanted to express something?
I can give you a little bit of ignorant perspective on this, but I've heard Radha Govinda Swami as well as His Holiness Radhanath Swami, my Guru Maharaj, speak about this at length. Actually, we were here in a session where Jananivas Prabhu was here, Radhanath Swami was here, and one of Radha Govinda Goswami's senior disciples was here, and this discussion was happening, very, very exact discussion, and it was quite illuminating, actually. What I learned from that is that it is our ignorance to think that we were somehow in the spiritual world and we've fallen. Actually, we don't know that we were ever in the spiritual world, because the creation is an eternal thing. We could have been here for an eternity in our vain attempt to try and get back to the spiritual world. Because at the end of Brahma's day, everything is annihilated, but everything then goes into suspense and it's recreated again. So it's not like there was no creation and then all of a sudden we were thrown into this creation. The Jivatmas have been in the material, sort of the planets for eternity. It's only those very, very rare few souls that are pure enough that go back. Once you go back, you don't come back. They say there is a chance you can fall, because Krishna gives us independence, and this was illuminated by the fact that Krishna says at the end of the Gita, after having given all these instructions to Arjuna, now you do as you choose. He doesn't say you do it. He says you do as you choose. So he gives him the independence to whether he wants to follow the path or not. So the independent aspect of it is given by Krishna in a very plain format, in a very carte blanche format to even Arjuna. He says, I've given you the instructions, now you do as you choose. So likewise, it is not Krishna that's implanting these thoughts in each even spiritual entity has independence, although generally speaking, the spiritual entity will always engage in Krishna's. But we have that one fall down opportunity. Apparently, is what the discussion was. We have that one fall down opportunity, and Janivas Prabhu was talking about this conversation he was having with Srila Prabhupada. That one fall down opportunity is the fall down, the ones that we are allowed to come down. Thereafter, we've then tasted the material world, we will never want to come back. We don't make that. So that's why Krishna's promise is also intact, because it says, once you go back to my spiritual world, you don't come back. And therefore, we're allowed to fall once. And because he's talking about the context of us being in this material world, going back, we don't come back. It's not that we can't fall from grace whilst we're there. We have that one opportunity to fall. But once we've fallen, we could have been here for trillions and trillions and trillions of years. Most likely, we have been here for trillions of years. It's just that we think that we were there a little while back and we've fallen. And why did Krishna plant that seed in my head for us to have fallen? Krishna doesn't plant that. It is our own desire to lord something over. So Krishna says, if you wish to do that, then the material world is where you can enjoy those fruits. So that's why we're sent here, because it was our desire to lord something. In the spiritual world, there is only one Lord, and we're all servitude attitude. Obviously, different moods and different sadhanas are there in terms of which particular mood in which we're serving and which sort of Vaikuntha planet we're in. But that was the gist of that conversation that these great souls were having, and that I was fortunate enough to listen to, and that was the essence that I managed to glean out of that. I don't know whether that helps or whether that confuses the matters further, but that was the kind of the gist of what I learned from that. Does that help?
Thank you. Yes, it does. The only clarity I wanted to make is, are you suggesting that there's a possibility that there are souls in this material world that never existed in the spiritual world?
No, it's just that there's just been here, existence is, when you talk about infinity, it's not like there was a point where the material world didn't exist and then Krishna created everything. It's always been created and annihilated. It's an infinite loop.
Yeah,
right?
Nitya Baddha.
Yeah, so we could have been stuck in this infinite loop for a very long time. It's not like it was just like one lifetime ago that we fell and now we're trying to debate all of this and get back again, and why were we going to fall again? It could be that from a time is absence, is it has a different meaning in the spiritual world than it does in the material world, as we all know. So we're trying to calculate this on the basis that Krishna created it, and I think Girish Prabhu's argument was at some point Krishna had to send souls down because he created it. Actually, no, these souls are all in suspense. Every time it's annihilated, these souls that didn't find a way back, wherever their karmic position was, is then suspended, and then the new day of Brahma or new Brahma that is created when the universes are recreated, when Krishna breathes outwards, all of these are re-impregnated again by Krishna's glance into that material world that were being suspended for, that inward breath of Lord Vishnu. So that was the point I was trying to make. That is not a point in time in which we were all sent into the material world. We could have been here for a very long time already.
That's true. That's a correct. That's the same one I had. Okay, dear devotees, let's take that away.
Can I add one little bit?
Yes, Krishna Vani Mataji.
Yeah. Well, yes, Krishna, doesn't send, but sometimes Krishna does send his pure devotees when he wants to, get out some work. So then there are some, like Nitya Siddhas, devotees, they also comes by Krishna or Lord Chaitanya, they send. So it's not that, like only our Nitya Buddhas, but sometimes Nitya Siddhas come when Krishna desires, and to fulfill the desire, they do come to assist Krishna.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. All right. It's a working day.
Sorry, Mamta Mataji, if I confused you yesterday by my
not at all, Prabhuji.
what
I'm
I was
glad.
saying, it was my comments, Prabhuji, that I think was the spur of this. So I mentioned to Mamta Mataji, she said that Brahma can fall. I said Brahma, generally speaking, is a pure devotee. And in particular, when that position is filled by Lord Vishnu, then clearly he cannot fall because it's Lord Vishnu directly. But generally speaking, Lord Brahma is always a pure devotee because he has to be qualified to sit in that position. And any, as you rightly explain, any apparent fall downs that he may have actually are, generally speaking, Krishna's arrangements for us to learn something from that. It's not, we're not in position to be able to say Brahma can fall because we don't know that. Generally speaking, he doesn't. He's a pure devotee.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I didn't mean at all. I wanted to actually give you a call and ask, but then it became so busy. And with full intention, I wanted to wish you New Year and also ask you this question again. But I thought, like today in this class, when everybody's present, why not bring up the question again and lead to this discussion because of lots of doubts. I'm very sorry if I kept, if I've misunderstood. I didn't mean to anyway offend you.
No, not at all. I'm sorry if I've confused.
It's all good.
Not at all.
Part of the chanting.
Yes,
Hare
it's
Krishna,
absolutely
everyone.
wonderful, actually. Absolutely wonderful that today we could have such a discussion. I'm so sorry that I kept you all behind for so long.
Sorry.
But thank you so much for obliging. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Namo Namo.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.